next individual we're going to have is probably the premier principal of the presenters tonight. His name is KenEyring. Ken's going to discuss workforce housing, which is obviously an integral part of the larger initiative called Granite State Futures Program. Some of you may have heard of Granite State Futures, and how it could affect specifically the community of Alton. The GFS is an umbrella program designed to implement the federal government's Sustainable Communities Initiative, called ICLEI, which is jointly managed by HUD, the EPA, and DOT. The mandatory outcomes will remove local zoning decisions at the local level and will be given more zoning from a federal level. Ken has spent many hours studying the legally binding agreements, attended GFS-related meetings, and educated town selectmen and board members across the state. Please help me welcome KenEyring.
Hi, just give me 1 second. I'm going to show you something on the screen that I initially, when I came in here, didn't intend to do that, but reviewing my notes back here, I thought it would be helpful for you to see these. Okay. Can you see that? Okay. I'm going to try to do this without being too clumsy. First place I want to start is the grant agreement that was signed by your town with the NHHFA. And that grant agreement says that you will develop a new or revised land use regulations as proposed. That's part of this contract. You're obligated to do that. Now, it's my understanding last year that you voted down workforce housing, but by accepting the grant monies, you now have to have this on your ballot. So that decision is out of your hands. And if you don't want workforce housing, you're going to have to lobby your neighbors, make sure they get out to vote in order to vote it down.
Who signed it?
I'll have to look that up. I can look that up when I'm done through, but I have the whole document off to the side, I believe. I also want to point out that this agreement references, it says that the municipality, which is Alton, agrees to perform the work to complete the project pursuant to the terms and conditions of the scope of work as attached in Exhibit A. So we need to look at Exhibit A. Now, it's my understanding, the people who helped me get these documents, they asked for the contract agreement and all associated documents. They had to go back and back again and back again to get all of the associated documents. So this information was not forthcoming. Okay, so this is Exhibit A. This is the scope of work. And Ed, did you turn on my mic, by the way? You're good? Okay. So, again, it says that this scope of work will result in the drafting of new regulatory language to be presented for ballot vote in 2014. And that language to present to the voters, number 3, to the ballot. Okay, now, I just wanted to point this out to you. You guys put up $7,500 as matching funds to get a $30,000 grant. So that's $37,500. This outlines how that money is going to be spent. You can see here in item number 2 for public outreach and education, which is supposed to have occurred between June and August of 2013. $8,000 was spent. I assume part of that was the meeting that you had last week, where Jeffrey Taylor and Associates, and I think it was Steve Whitman came and spoke to you. I was here, and I heard a lot of very good questions about workforce housing, about the fact that you have enough workforce housing according to the specifications of the law. And Mr. Whitman continued to say that, well, you really should consider having more workforce housing just in case the value of your properties go up in the future, and therefore you'll have a safe, window, just in case. So people asked, well, how much more? He said, I don't know. And there were many questions last week where he was asked and he didn't provide answers. So I think you should consider if you got your money's worth. If you look at item number 3, it says prepare draft regulatory language. Now I'm making an interpretation here, so I could be wrong, but it says the new regulatory language to present to the voters for ballot vote in March 2014. So my assumption is this: they're going to help you write the warrant article. Now if you've seen warrant articles, they're about a paragraph long. That's an awful lot of money to write legislation, to write language for a warrant article. In addition to that, if that warrant article language was going to be used in other towns that perhaps they might have as clients, they could reuse that language. Now, I don't know that they have or have not, but it's just a consideration.
How much was item number 2?
Item number 2 is $8,000. Item number 3 was $15,000. Okay, so this is Exhibit B, and Exhibit B, this is a HUD 1044 form. So this is what the NHHFA signed with HUD. These are their obligations to HUD. And it includes, by reference, a cooperative agreement, which it lists as the fiscal year 2011 terms and conditions, and another agreement, a notice of funding availability. Now, if you look at these documents, they're very long, they're very extensive, and they have a lot of guidelines to follow and also mandates. I've got this page here. This is under the deliverables in accordance with the NOFA and approved work plan and logic model. And item number C says signed and GTR approved consortium agreement that at a minimum must include the following organizations. So the top organization that I put an arrow to is the NH Legal Assistance. So that's the NHLA. And I'm going to come back to them a little bit later. But I just wanted to point out that they're one of the partners, or one of the partners in this program. Now also in Exhibit C, there's a reference to fair housing and the civil rights laws. Your first blush at that would say, well, there's no problems with that, but I'm going to come back to that as well. So here's another reference to fair housing and the civil rights laws. Now, here's a clause that says there's flow-down provisions. So the flow-down provisions say if the grantee contracts the subawards funds under this agreement, I'm just going to jump ahead, it says that all contractors and sub-grantees will comply with the agreement, with the requirements of the grant. So through this clause, what the NHHFA has signed with HUD, by you signing the grant application and approval, you've now signed on to all of the obligations that the NHHFA has signed on to with HUD.
Crop TV.